Just give me a minute, guys. I am going live on Instagram. So just give me 1 minute. Hey everyone, happy Monday. I hope everyone has had an amazing Monday and a productive Monday. So I haven't gone live on Instagram in a minute. One of the stories that I have told you all from the beginning that I wanted to keep up with is the Idaho Idaho 4, which I'm calling the Idaho 4 murders, which is the story about the 4 college students in Idaho who were murdered. As you all know, they were stabbed to death, unfortunately. So there's been some new information that has come out about the case. Now, I thought I wasn't going to hear anything else about this case until June because, as you all know, the man Bryan Kohberger, who is being accused of these murders, last month he went to court. He did his plea. He pled not guilty, and they said that things would resume in June. However, some interesting information has developed, and I just want to go ahead and share that information with you all. It's actually about some information about the roommates. As you all know, the roommates initially said that they were asleep when everything took place, when the murders took place. I believe one of the roommates said that they were kind of groggy. They woke up in kind of a groggy sleep, and they saw a strange man leaving the house. That story has kind of changed. So now what sources are saying, and this is from Inside Edition, and I'll go ahead and I'll just read it because I thought it was very interesting how the stories has changed. And I know that some of you all have posted under other videos that I've done, you all have said that you all are not yet convinced that the roommates did not have anything to do with it. Now, as for me, the police have cleared the roommates, so I guess as far as my own opinion about that, I'm still kind of on the fence because the way the story has taken a turn is very weird. So I'll go ahead and get into the details of that. So it goes on to say that the eyewitnesses who allegedly saw Bryan Kohberger leaving the victim's home on the night of the University of Idaho murders assumed he was a party guest. So that's what the story is saying now. So instead of these terrifying screams that they heard, they didn't think that anything was wrong. They thought that he was a partying guest, according to a new report. So this is a new report. The same eyewitness assumed that the noises she heard that evening were just the sounds of her roommates partying. This is also new, what she's saying. So she's changed her story a lot from she was asleep to she thought the noises was partying. So that's very interesting to me. A source who had spoken to the eyewitness told News Edition host, I won't say her name, Bainfield is her last name, that the eyewitness, who was one of the 2 surviving roommates living in the home, even yelled at her roommates to keep the noise down. She allegedly yelled, "Calm down. You're being loud and I'm trying to sleep," after opening her door, the resources told the network. So she opened her door and told them to calm down after she heard these people screaming because they were being murdered. So her story has changed drastically. So the source also said that when the eyewitness opened the door and saw a mystery man, who authorities now believe was Kohberger, she did nothing because she assumed he had been a guest of her roommates. 8 hours later, police were called to the house where they discovered the bodies of the 4 victims. The details in the new report are notably different than the details shared in the probable cause affidavit last month. That probable cause affidavit also differed from the initial account that police department provided to the public in the wake of the murders on November 13th. So do you all remember when they initially provided the roommates who survived the attack, they said that they were sleeping. So the story has changed drastically. That claim was made, okay, authorities initially said that the two women who survived the brutal murders had been asleep at the time of the murders. That claim was made for the first time 1 week after the murders and then reiterated for the next month in the daily updates provided by the public and press by the police department. The police department from November 20th read, detectives believed that on November 12th, the two surviving roommates had also been out in the Moscow community separately, but returned home by 1 a.m. on November 13th. The two did not wake up until later that morning. Those daily updates ceased after the arrest of Kohberger, but days after his arrest, a different version of events emerged in the probable cause affidavit. In that affidavit, CPL Brett Payne of the Moscow Police Department said for the first time that one of the roommates had not only been awake during the murder, but also witnessed the suspect killer exiting the home. DM stated she opened her door for the third time after she heard the crying and saw a figure clad in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's mouth and nose walking towards her. Now, this was said in the affidavit. Furthermore, the roommate provided police with a physical description of the man. She described the figure as 5'10" or taller male. Please excuse that noise. It's my pooch playing with his bone. But she described the figure as a 5'10" male, 5'10" male or taller, not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. The male walked past the roommate as she stood in a frozen shock phase, she wrote. The male walked towards the back sliding doors. The roommate locked herself in her room after seeing the male. She did not, and they're calling the roommate DM. So that's what I'm going to call her. When I say DM, I'm referring to the roommate who has now changed her story. DM did not state that she recognized the male. This leads investigators to believe that the murderer left the scene. Payne said in the affidavit that he responded to the scene after one of the roommates called 911. That call came in just before noon, and the affidavit's almost 8 hours after the murders. Okay, so that call came in just before noon, said the affidavit, almost 8 hours after the murders. A source previously told Inside Edition Digital that the two surviving roommates called Chapin's two siblings to the home before calling the police. So that's new. The two were able to arrive at the scene quickly since they also attended the University of Idaho. Kohberger, 28, is currently being held in the Latah County Detention Center in Idaho. He is facing 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary. He will enter a formal plea to those charges when he appears in court this June for his preliminary hearings. A public defender was assigned to Kohberger's case after his arrest in Pennsylvania. Kohberger has maintained his innocence and is expected to be exonerated of all charges. So that's what he has said. So this is very interesting. This is new, very new, and the roommates have changed their story drastically. So I can now see why many of you were saying that, hey, I am still not convinced that those roommates had nothing to do with it. Now, I will admit, when I first heard this story, I thought, it was kind of odd to me that 2 people would sleep through a murder where someone is being stabbed to death, where someone is being murdered the way that they were, because that's kind of a painful death. They're being stabbed to death. So I would assume that there would be yelling, and I don't know how they could get those yells of terror mixed up with yells of having a good time or partying. So what do you all think? I don't know. I think more is going to develop from this story. You all may be right. Those roommates may have had something to do with it. What do you think? Do you all think that they had something to do with it along with Bryan Kohberger? Do you think Bryan Kohberger did it on his own? They have the right man? What do you all think about this? it's just interesting to me how this story has changed. Again, if you all have been following me, you all know that this is a story that I want to follow and I want to see it through until the end. I didn't think that we were going to hear anything else about it until he goes to trial in June. But this is new evidence that they have presented, and I think it's very interesting. I don't know. It doesn't sit well with me. I don't know if I'm still ready to start pointing the finger at the roommates. But something is amiss for me. So you all let me know what you all think. I see a lot of you in here. I'm going to wave to some of you. I really do appreciate you joining my live. And again, just tell me what you all think with this new information that we now have with regards to the roommate of the Idaho 4 murders changing her story. Where when it initially came out, she said that she was asleep, that she saw a strange man, she froze, and the man walked out of the home. Now she's saying that she saw this man. She thought that he was just someone there who was partying with her roommates. So both stories to me that the roommate had said, with the first story with her saying that, hey, yeah, we slept through these murders, that was strange to me. I will admit that. This story here of them now saying, oh, we just thought our roommates were partying. We thought that the murderer, when he was leaving, he was just one of their guests. That is strange to me. So I don't know. And I wonder what kind of connections do the roommates have to the police department? Because the police department down there in Idaho, they were adamant about, they've always stated that they don't believe that the roommates had anything to do with it. They said they have cleared the roommates. I wonder if that story going to change. So it's very interesting. I wanted to hop on and do a live to share that information with you and kind of get you all's thoughts on that. And again, I really appreciate you for joining my live. I hope you all are off to a productive week and a wonderful week, and happy Valentine's Day as well. And I will see you all next time.